Hello and welcome to this lesson on the song Any Dream Will Do. A very famous song from the musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, written by Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice, of course, and it's a great song. I used to do this in the key of C, but I can't sing quite that high anymore, so I've dropped it down to the key of A, which is a bit more comfortable for me and the children to sing along with. There are various versions of this that I'm going to be teaching, from a simple single strum version to the full version with lots of chords. There's the solo written in tablature, there's the solo written in code, and there's the solo written in musical notation. So lots of things to take on board, so let's get started. Okay, the easiest strumming version is the one that says Any Dream Will Do, single thumb strums at the top. Well, you may actually use a plectrum instead of your thumb, which is absolutely fine. And at the bottom of the page are 4 chord boxes for you to look at. If you don't know how to read the chord boxes, it's fairly straightforward. The lines that go across the page are the strings, and top to bottom they are E, B, G, D, A, E, and you can see that the thickest string, this string here, what we call the evening string, capital E, is at the bottom of the box to show you which way up you are. And the lines that go up and down the page from left to right are the nut, the 1st fret, the 2nd fret, the 3rd fret and the 4th fret. The actual numbers on the box are your left hand fingers if you are right-handed. So you can see for the chord of A, finger 1 goes on the G string behind the 2nd fret, and finger 2 goes on the B string behind the 2nd fret. And you strum 3 strings. You'll see you've got 3 strings crossed out, so you only strum the 3 strings nearest the floor. That's the G string, the B string, the E string, and the E string is open, of course. That is a slightly simplified A chord. If you want to do a slightly better A chord, put your 1st finger behind the 2nd fret of the D string, your 2nd finger behind the 2nd fret of the G string, and your 3rd finger behind the 2nd fret of the B string. It's a bit of a squash, but it can be done. And with that shape, you can play 5 strings, the 5 nearest the floor. But the other A chord is fine as long as you only play those 3 strings. Now the D chord, there is no easy version of this, so you have to do it in this way. Very important chord to learn anyway, so you might as well do it now. 1st finger goes behind the 2nd fret of the G string. 2nd finger goes behind the 2nd fret of the E string, little E string nearest the floor. 3rd finger goes behind the 3rd fret of the B string. So you have that kind of triangular shape, if you like, and you strum the 4 strings nearest the floor. The 2 thickest bass strings are crossed out. Then if you take your 3rd finger off that chord, it magically turns into the next chord that you need, which is B7, but you must only strum 3 strings, the 3 nearest the floor. And again, this is an easier version of B7. Harder B7 is 1st finger behind the 1st fret of the D string, 2nd finger behind the 2nd fret of the A string, 3rd finger behind the 2nd fret of the G string, 4th finger behind the 2nd fret of the little E string. It's a 4-finger chord, pretty hard. You can strum 5 strings on that. But I would, if you are, relatively new to the guitar, I'd stick with the easy version. And the 4th chord is E, simple E chord, and it is 1st finger behind the 1st fret of the G string, and you strum the 3 strings nearest the floor. So those are your 4 chords: the A, the D, the B7 and the E. And the A, the D and the E chords are all major chords, by the way. We actually should say A major, D major, E major, but we don't, we just call them A, D and E. So here's the A chord, the simple A chord. That's what it sounds like. Here's the D chord and what it sounds like. Here's the simplified B7 chord, which is the D with the 3rd finger lifted. And here's the easy E chord and what it sounds like. Once you've learnt those chords, it's simply a matter of looking at the words and strumming the chord once, either with your thumb pushing down or with your plectrum pushing down, every time the chord occurs above a word. The verses are really easy because they're all just one chord, the A chord, and it's in the middle 8. Things get a little bit more interesting. where you sing a crash of drums, a flash of light, because you've got the D and the B7 and the E. Okay. You might also want to try the solo, which is written in my simple note code, sort of fairly near the bottom of the page. My simple note code, how's it work? Well, 2B means 2nd fret of the B string. Okay, 3B means 3rd fret of the B string. OE means open E string. I should say this is quite an old cheat of mine. In these days, I didn't call the E string nearest the floor little e. I just called it E. So sorry if that confuses you, but I'm not about to throw hundreds and hundreds of photocopies away of this sheet that I've got. So I'm going to use this one. All you've got to bear in mind is the E string is the high-pitched E string, the one nearest the floor. The numbers underneath the coded notes are your left-hand fingers. So you'd use your first finger behind the 2nd fret of the B, your 2nd finger behind the 3rd fret of the B, your little finger behind the 9th fret of the E, 2nd finger behind the 7th fret of the E, and so on. Now as you look from left to right, you'll see that the bars are split up by little vertical lines. And it says rest strokes. This is again something I used to do an awful lot of in the old days, where you pluck the string on the back of your finger and pull the string out. That's called a rest stroke, kind of a classical guitar technique. These days I'd recommend that you use a plectrum, play the string with the downstroke of the plectrum. If you want to use your finger, that's fine. So the order of the song is, there's an introduction which you wait for, you actually don't play them. Then you have verse 1, verse 2, middle 8, verse 3, solo. Now the solo, you've got a choice, you can just play the A chord or play the actual solo itself, which is the... That's the first line. Second line. On 2G, 2nd fret of the G string. Having played that solo section, you repeat the middle 8 and verse 3, and then you go to the coda. And the coda is the special ending of the song where it slows down and it's just a couple of A chords. Now we've got a recording of this that we did a while back, so I'm going to strum along with that and play the solo in the middle. Remember, this is the easy version, so you won't see anything particularly flash in this, just some single strums and quite a straightforward solo. So here's the introduction. You don't play on this. Have your A chord ready for the start of verse 1. Remember, it's a single strum every time you see the chord written down. I closed my eyes, drew back the curtain. 8 beats between the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Far, far away, someone was weeping, but the world was sleeping. A dream. Still A into verse 2, same chord. Now the middle 8, D chord, B7, back to A, and then E, verse 3, back to the A chord. May I return. Solo's coming up, so change to the other style of playing now. Just the single notes, here we go. bass line. And repeat the middle 8, chord of D, crash of drums. B7, A chord, and 2 E chords. And verse 3 again, just the A chord. And the coda. Again the A. Going to slow up a bit here. Wait for the final word. Just do a nice ripply kind of strum on the final chord. And that's quite nice, isn't it? You'll probably notice on the solo where it goes, probably a nice idea there with the plectrum to go down, up, down, down. Most of the time we just do downstrokes on these things, sort of slow enough to do downstrokes. But when you got that fast little bit there, down, up, down, down with the plectrum, that's actually a pretty good idea. So that is the easy strumming version of Any Dream Will Do. I hope you enjoyed it.